My question is to Libby Trickett. The recent withdrawal of Maddie Gross from the Tokyo 2021 Olympics raised many questions about the role that misogyny plays in professional sport. What kind of grassroots initiatives do you think are needed in order to tackle this issue at a fundamental level to make sure that such incidents do not occur again?
It's a question directly to you, Libby, and of course Maddie Gross withdrew from the trials, saying that it should be a lesson to all misogynistic perverts in sport. I'll use coarse language here. She said that there were trainers who were staring at her tits while she was training, and she said you can no longer exploit young women and girls, body shame or medically gaslight them. When you heard all that, did it ring a bell with you?
Yeah, it was a really interesting conversation that came up just before the Olympic trials just a few weeks ago, and it was a difficult thing to hear, I guess, about a sport that I really love and am very passionate about. And I didn't love the timing. Obviously, just before the Olympic trials, you didn't want any distractions for these athletes who have waited another 18 months on top of what, was already a 4-year cycle. And so I was worried about how people would then look at swimming. For me, I've not experienced any sort of misogynistic conversations to me personally, and I certainly wouldn't ever want to invalidate Maddie's experiences because I don't know what they are, and obviously everyone has different experiences within their swimming careers or indeed in their lives. So, but for me, I think I'm excited about the possible conversation, particularly around body image with young female athletes. And I think that is something that really needs to be discussed, because that is something that is fundamentally part of our self-esteem and how we view ourselves, not only as athletes but certainly as women as well.
Yeah, just to jump in there, Libby, if I can, because I know that you've reflected on how the focus on skin folds, on the folds of your skin, and heaven forbid any sort of body fat that could be pinched or caught on your body, how that was noticed by your trainer, and the overweening focus on that was a real issue and messed with your head.
Yeah, and I don't know whether that was because we have, for me as an athlete, I was very much the feeling that I was never enough, so I was constantly trying to push and prove myself and challenge myself to be more and show what I was capable of. And certainly that self-esteem with body image and being as lean as possible was something that was very much ingrained in that. And I think we need to be 99% of coaches are men in swimming, and we either need to create an environment that female coaches come into the sport, or we need to educate our male coaches in how to speak to young female athletes, because, we need to be able to have these conversations, not just about the vehicle that is our bodies to create these performances, but, talking about menstrual cycles, talking about how we feel about ourselves is something that is so important, and I think will have a massive impact on our performances, not just as an athlete, but then in life after as well.
Minister, I wanted to come to you because as the father of daughters, I mean, you would reflect on this, of course, and anyone who's gone through having daughters and raising them through puberty, but also through this very difficult period of lockdown where emotional issues and psychological issues have come to the fore. It must weigh on your mind when you've got a high-profile athlete like that calling out a sport and a sporting organisation that we all like to love and revere.
Yeah, it was distressing hearing the story, and it's really sad that such a talented athlete has felt the only way she could solve the problem was to withdraw, because she's probably put her life and soul into swimming. Like you said, it's not appropriate to be that behaving in that way in any workplace or sporting organisation or anything like that. People are much more aware of this, and obviously it doesn't reflect well on the sport or the person involved. So I think what Libby said is actually right on the money, and I think getting more female coaches might add a much more friendly mood and demeanour in the sport. If what Libby said, I'm surprised there aren't more female coaches.
Yeah, and need to come up through the ranks as well. Russell?
Yeah.
Well, good on her, good on the athlete, really, for having the guts to do that and to call it out. Because, you know, culture...
It's brought about an inquiry now into the culture as a result of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And culture can be very, very hard to change. You know, you can have an individual that can infiltrate a culture, and then it can go bad, and then that bad element then rubs off on many people, and all of a sudden that becomes the culture. And you have to have these, you know, serious intervention moments in order to change culture. It's not. It's. You know, I like to think culture's like a river, Virginia, you know, and they've...
Where are you going with this, Russell?
Well, if you think of culture as a river, they're very hard to change direction, yeah? And if it's deep and if it's wide, it's even harder. So you have to sort of think of culture like that. So if we are going to actually change this, we've got to really, like, put up a damn wall and start all over again. It's really tough to do.